Welcome to Behind the Barnwood. This is a podcast where we take you behind the scenes of Prairie Barnwood, where we talk about our craftsmanship, connection, and running a family business. I'm here with Blayne. My name is Natalya. And today we're diving into Barnwood. We touched on it in an episode a couple weeks ago, if you saw that already. And we're going to be touching on it more in depth, talking about where we started with Barnwood, why we're named Prairie Barnwood, and all things rustic wood.
That's actually kind of a funny story.
What?
The Barnwood, Prairie Barnwood.
We'll start with it. How did you...
I never thought of it till you just said that. Yeah, it's kind of funny.
That's funny.
Yeah.
How did you... I guess we could start there. How did you start with the name Prairie Barnwood?
Yeah, I came from building kitchens, and named it Omega Cabinets because it was the end. And we were building furniture for years, and I started to kind of get a little concerned that Omega Cabinet Company didn't really work for a business that handcrafted furniture. And so I was trying to think of a name, and I actually couldn't come up with a name. And so I was on the phone one night with my parents, and my dad came up with the name.
No way.
Yeah, he was like, Prairie Barnwood. That seems very fitting for what you do in the prairies, and you're going to work with barnwood, and you're surrounded by barns, and there's beautiful old wooden barns. Prairie Barnwood.
That's so funny.
And I was like, that Prairie Barnwood.
Okay.
That sounds awesome. Say less, yeah. Mic drop, we're done, we got a name.
Yeah. That's so funny. I had no idea about that.
So my dad named it Prairie Barnwood.
What a legend.
And I rolled with it. Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
So we touched on it, like I said earlier, a couple episodes ago, how you even started with Barnwood.
Right.
But we never went in depth with the craftsmanship specifically.
Right.
It's very different than working with new wood.
Yeah.
And just
Very
so many
different.
Characteristics.
Yeah.
So what makes Barnwood a challenge to work with?
I think the biggest challenge with barnwood is that it's already been used for 100 years as a building or corral fencing or whatever before it's dismantled, reclaimed, and then we denail it, kiln dry it, and then it's ready to be built with again. So like a new tree, when that's cut down, it's just a nice solid board. With barnwood, you're working around cracks and aging and weathering and nails, and now you're trying to straighten it and clean it to build furniture with it. So yeah, it's hard on equipment, it's hard on saw blades, it's hard on people. I remember in particular there was we were dismantling this one barn, and the roof boards, so on a barn, well, nowadays they build it where the roof is sheeted with plywood. With barnwood, it was sheeted with like 1-inch thick by 12-inch wide boards, and then the cedar shakes were put on top of that. And so one of the roof boards we had taken down, so 12 inches wide, 1-inch thick, and it was probably 12 feet long, had, I think it was 240 nails in it, in one board.
Oh my gosh.
And these were nails that were like 1 inch long, and you could see that they were all hand forged because they were all square nails, and they were all inconsistent. And so when you strip off the cedar shakes, most of the nails break. And so when you're denailing it, you're left with just this little stub coming out. Or you have a nail and you pull on it and the nail breaks, and so you have to get that metal out. Otherwise, when you're putting it through the planer and sanders, it affects the equipment. And even when you're cutting with a table saw, why most shops won't work with barnwood is because they have central dust collection systems. I've kept with individual tool dust collection, not like a massive dust collector. I've kept the single dust collectors because if you are cutting barnwood and you hit a nail, if it gets sucked into a massive dust collector, that can spark and cause your shop to burn down. That's usually why in the forestry industry, there's typically one or two sawmills that go on fire every year is from bullets or fencing or whatever being in trees. And when they cut them, their central dust collection system sucks it in. And with the air blowing on it, it ignites and starts the sawmill on fire.
No way.
So we've kept with individual dust collection because you can identify the problem a lot faster. Or if you hear that you hit a nail, you shut it down, clean everything out, and then you don't have a fire. And so yeah, even just the nail aspect, like when you're cutting barnwood, if there's a nail in it and you hit it with a table saw, that has the potential to come back on you. So we have guards on all of our table saws and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, just milling it is a challenge. Yeah.
It's such a process.
It's such a process with
Yeah.
the nails and then the how fragile it is and yeah, all kinds of stuff. There was this one barn that I remember. This was really cool about when I would dismantle barns is that lots of times farmers would keep a record on like a windowsill board, or in one barn it was just a board on the wall of the day and date that they planted and the weather that day, and the day and date that they harvested and the weather that day. And this one farmer did it for probably 50 years.
No way.
Yeah. So we dismantled their barn and saw this board. And so I took that board off, brought it back to the shop, and lightly sanded it. I didn't take any of the dates and stuff off, but we gave it back to the farmer. I guess it was his grandpa or his dad.
Wow.
So that he could keep that board. And yeah, that's pretty special.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so cool. There's
Yeah.
so much character.
So much character and history.
Yeah.
And stories to barnwood. Yeah, I think that's what that's a part of what makes it so beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember in your old shop in the chicken barn, you got an electric denailer.
Oh yeah, an
Like
air
a
denailer.
gun?
Yep.
And when we were kids, like, we were young.
Yeah.
And we were so pumped. Justice, he loved going to the shop.
Yeah.
Was there all the time.
All the time.
And he was so pumped. He had the big glasses and like a hard hat on.
yeah.
He was like pumping the nails out.
Yeah, he would come and denail boards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember we all tried it.
Yeah.
It was a powerful little machine, but
It was.
yeah.
Yeah.
It was so cool. We're all like, this is sick.
Yeah.
And you're like, this is going to take so much less time than what we were doing before.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's I think we have 3 or 4 of them now.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a super important tool for
Yeah.
denailing a barn. Yeah.
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 That's so funny.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, why did we start incorporating new wood? What made you transition?
Right.
Was there like a specific piece that you're like, I'm never doing barnwood again, or we've got to switch or pivot
Right.
here? Was there a piece?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, we did authentic barnwood for 10 years or longer. And I think what I started to realize was that a lot of people like the feel and look of barnwood and the story of barnwood, but don't necessarily enjoy the natural characteristics of barnwood. Some people love it and some people don't. And when I say natural characteristics, like barnwood is very apt and susceptible to cracking and knots fall out. So you could be sitting at your dining table and all of a sudden a knot just falls out. And even when you're sanding, so in our studio in Morden here, we've got a beautiful hutch behind the front desk. And it's authentic barnwood. It's a fantastic example of real barnwood. So sometimes when you're sanding barnwood, the wood looks beautiful, and so you've got this gorgeous dining table built or buffet or whatever, and then you start sanding it, and as you're sanding it, all of a sudden you catch a little bit of a wormhole. And so now you have to get down to firm hard wood. You can't just finish over soft wood. So if you tip your sander down and keep sanding it, what we noticed is sometimes that worm or bug went into the wood and started burrowing inside of the wood. And so there's like this whole house inside of the wood for the bug. And when you sand it, all of a sudden the wood just deteriorates and you end up with this big ridge or a gap in your dining table. And if like, let's say you're from Vancouver and you've asked us to build you a dining table and you see a picture and you like it and you want that, so we build it out of barnwood. But barnwood is such a natural material that you don't really know what you're going to get. It's kind of a bit of a, when I was a kid, 100 years ago, they would call it a Cracker Jack box. I don't know if you're familiar with Cracker Jack boxes or not.
Vaguely. Not really.
Yeah, so it was just this little box of, if I remember correctly, like really disgusting popcorn, like pink and blue popcorn or whatever. But you would open it and eat it, and inside there was a toy, but you just never knew what kind of a toy it would be. I guess like a Kinder Egg.
Yeah.
So barnwood is a lot like a Cracker Jack box. Like you just don't know what you're gonna get. Mm-hmm. And if you love wood and you love like marble and granite and like natural products, mm-hmm. then barnwood's amazing. But you just have to understand with barnwood that you never know what you're gonna get. Mm-hmm. You could get nail holes in the top of your table. You could get bug tunnels, mm-hmm. Cracks, knots can fall out. So it's really unpredictable. So I started to listen to what customers were saying to us, that I love barnwood, love the characteristics, but I don't want it as my dining table. And so what we started to do is kind of transition to where we would use new wood for the tops and barnwood for the bases. Or on doors, a lot of our passage doors with barnwood, like wood it's a natural product and it completely has a mind of its own. And even once you've built with it, it still absorbs and releases moisture, depending on the moisture in your home. So with barnwood as a door, it can absorb moisture and release it almost faster than new wood for some reason. And so it's really unpredictable. Lots of times our passage doors would twist and warp with barnwood. So what we do a lot of times is the frame of the door will be new wood and the panel will be barnwood. What I've also run into is we've built barn doors for customers for bathrooms. Like one cottage in particular was in Kenora, and we built all these beautiful sliding doors, and the one was a bathroom door, and it was made of barnwood. And the customer called me up shortly after we installed it, and he was like, "This is a little awkward, but like we have holes in our bathroom door."
Oh no.
And so you could see through the door into the bathroom through the nail holes. And so that's barnwood. Barnwood, you get unpredictable characteristics. Mm-hmm. So that's where in comments we were getting back from customers, we started to adapt and put new wood where it's important and barnwood where it adds character. And but it's completely up to the customer to characterize that portion of their piece, mm-hmm. where you can pick new wood or barnwood. And that's why we chose to use pine, was because barnwood is mainly made up of softwoods. So you've got a lot of cedar, spruce, fir, hemlock, and new pine works the best with those barnwood woods for color and sanding and characteristics like that. So that's why we chose pine. Mm-hmm. But with our new wood, you can choose anywhere from, well, we just built a cherry dining table. And we build a ton out of pine. And it's such a beautiful wood. It's a nice wood to work with. We build lots with oak. We stay away from maple. I found that the projects that we've built out of maple, for some reason, it's a really unstable wood. Like I find that new maple really shrinks and expands a lot, and it really twists and warps a lot. So we tend to stay away from maple, but alder, hickory, fir, cedar, white oak, red oak. Yeah, build with pretty much anything you'd like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that pretty common in the furniture industry to be able to build with so many different types of wood? Or do most people stick with kind of what they know?
Right. You know what? I think a lot of us carpenters kind of love certain woods. I don't want to speak for all carpenters, but I'm pretty sure everybody's willing to work with any type of wood. But there are woods that I think, like, I personally would lean into just because I like the look of it.
Yeah.
I like working with it. I like how it sands and finishes. So I can think of a few shops, smaller shops in our area that stick to specific wood species. But then I can think of a lot of other shops that they'll build with anything. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just based on preference.
I think it's
at
just
that point.
preference. Yeah.
Yeah.
Preference and look and feel. Yeah. Depending if you like a really grainy wood or you like it with more knots or inconsistencies in the color. Whether you like something more consistent. So different wood species will pull different directions, and then hardness of wood. Those are all aspects that will, I guess, sway you and probably price. Yeah. I know during COVID, it just absolutely blew everything we knew out of the water as far as price goes. Like, we used to build a lot with white oak. So here in Manitoba, we have our oak trees in Manitoba are called a burr white oak. They're small trees, but they're absolutely beautiful and crazy hard because of our growing seasons. Our growing seasons are so short, the tree doesn't have a lot of time to grow. So then the grains of the wood are tighter. So in climates that are warmer and have longer growing seasons, you'll usually find that the grain is more open. And in colder climates where there's shorter growing seasons, like Manitoba with our burr oak, the wood is hard and tight and small. So the white oak that we were buying before COVID, it's gone up 400% now that COVID is over. Yeah. Just bizarre.
Wild. Yeah.
And most of our other wood species doubled or tripled through that process, and they haven't come down.
Yeah. With that being said, thank you so much for watching this episode. If you loved today's conversation, we want to hear from you. Leave us a comment, send us a message, like this video for more to come, and we will see you in the next episode. Bye.
Bye.